When Ivan Ivanovich heard his wife's screams, of course he didn't think of Russia's future. He rushed to her help and to see what was going on. Yelena, his wife, was pregnant. His father had already become very unstable and prone to fits of rage by that time, so he suspected what was happening. He found his father beating Yelena. Later that day, or maybe it was during the night, Yelena Sheremetova had a miscarriage. Furious, Ivan Ivanovich went to confront his father. They had a big fight in which the father struck his son in the head with a scepter. Ivan Ivanovich fell unconscious and was bleeding from the wound. His father fell to his knees, picked up his son and cried, "May I be damned! I've killed my son! I've killed my son!" Indeed, Ivan Ivanovich died 3 days later. He still didn't know it, but when Ivan the Terrible struck his son that night, he effectively ended the Rurik dynasty, to which he himself belonged. 5 of his children had died as infants, and only Ivan Ivanovich and Fyodor made it into adulthood. The dynasty will end with Fyodor, who didn't have children of his own. 1 year after the incident, Ivan the Terrible will have another son, Dmitry Ivanovich, but the boy will die at 9 years of age. These events, with the help of a volcano on the other side of the world, will lead to a period of crisis and political instability in Russia called the Times of Trouble. That crisis, however, will give the chance to 3 men to try and usurp Russia's throne. They will all claim to be Dmitry Ivanovich, the youngest son of Ivan the Terrible. History will remember them as False Dmitrys. Ivan the Terrible died in 1584. His son Feodor became the new Tsar of Russia. Feodor was a shy and insecure person, possibly intellectually disabled. He was more interested in religion than in politics, so his brother-in-law, Boris Godunov, ruled in his name. Feodor's half-brother, Dmitry Ivanovich, was 2 years old when his father died. Boris Godunov sent him and his mother to the city of Uglich. In 1591, the boy died under suspicious circumstances. Feodor died in 1598, without children, and Godunov became the new Tsar. In 1600, Huayna, a volcano in Peru, erupted. This event affected the climate worldwide. The summer of 1601 was among the coldest in the northern hemisphere during the last 6 centuries. In Russia, crops failed and famine started. In 2 years, 2 million people died, 1/3 of Russia's population. Times of trouble have started. A young man in Poland declared himself to be Dmitry Ivanovich, the youngest son of Ivan the Terrible, during Godunov's rule in Russia in the early 1600s. He claimed that Boris Godunov had sent assassins after him when he was 9 years old, but that his mother had anticipated Godunov's attempt to kill him and sent him away. He received support from Polish nobility, who wanted to take advantage of political instability in Moscow, and put together an army of 3,500. He began his march on Moscow in 1605. On the way, they fought 2 battles against the Russian army, winning the first one, but losing the second badly. That would have probably been the end of his effort, but it just so happened that Boris Godunov died. With the demise of the unpopular Tsar, the last obstacle to Dmitry's ascent was eliminated. The Russian troops abandoned their allegiance and joined Dmitry's cause. On June 1st, boyars in Moscow staged a coup, leading to the imprisonment of the newly crowned Tsar Feodor II, Godunov's son. On the 20th of June, Dmitry entered Moscow, accompanied by 8,000 Cossacks and Poles. Day after, he was crowned as the Tsar. Next year, Dmitry married a nice Polish Catholic girl. Until then, it was custom when a Russian Tsar married a woman of another faith that she would convert to Eastern Orthodox Christianity. Marina, that was her name, didn't do that. The conservative Russian society, specifically the Russian Orthodox Church, couldn't accept that. The boyars began plotting against the Tsar, spreading rumors and accusing him of actively promoting Roman Catholicism. 10 days after Dmitry's marriage to Marina, a mob stormed the Kremlin. Dmitry tried to flee by jumping out of a window, but fractured his leg in the fall. They caught him and killed him. His body was hacked to pieces, burned, and then the ashes fired from a cannon towards Poland. Conspirators' leader Vasily Shuisky became the new Tsar. He would not reign unchallenged for long. 1 year later, in July 1607, another man appeared claiming to be Dmitry Ivanovich. Not only that, he said he was the same Dmitry who was supposedly killed last year. He claimed that it was another man who was killed and whose ashes were shot out of the cannon. He even got the wife of the first False Dmitry to back up his story. First, Poles and Cossacks joined him, and then, after promising to confiscate the lands of the nobility, many common people came to his side. He gathered an army of about 100,000 and set a military camp 12 miles outside of Moscow, in Tushino. At one point, he held all of southeastern Russia. Eventually, his Polish supporters abandoned him after Polish King Sigismund III attacked Russia. Dmitry and his army moved to Kaluga. There he lived with Marina, the wife of the first False Dmitry. He was killed in December 1610 by a man he had flogged before. Tatar Prince Peter Urusov shot him with a pistol and then cut off his head and hand with a saber. Four months later, another man proclaimed himself Tsarevich Dmitry Ivanovich. Not much is known about him, but he did get the support of Cossacks who were already pillaging Moscow's surroundings. They acknowledged him as Tsar on March 2nd, 1612, but it seems Russians stopped believing in the possibility of Ivan's son surviving. He didn't last long. After a couple of months, he was caught, brought to Moscow, and executed. 31 years before, Ivan the Terrible struck his daughter-in-law and later his son. 31 years before, he fell on his knees and cursed himself for it. Echoes of their screams from that fateful night have finally started subsiding. Russia was ready for a new dynasty. Times of trouble started in 1598 with the death of Feodor I and ended in 1613 with the election of Michael Romanov as Tsar. It was a time of violent succession crisis, famine and war, one of the most turbulent periods in Russian history. In just 15 years, the crown changed hands 6 times. During those times, 3 men wanted to live as Dmitry Ivanovich or die trying. They died trying.